and that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about Bitcoin, as I think it gives me a way to, or really everybody, a way to kind of secure their future and not be dependent on anyone else, and kind of have that sovereign wealth, that sovereign choice.
Yeah, I try and hope and like try and be an optimist that things won't get too bad, but I get to sit down with a lot of people. I get to sit down with you, with Lynn, Mark Moss, Alex Gladstein, and it's not good news at the moment. And part of me is like, right, I need to go home and I need to prep. I need to fill up the freezer. I need to fill up but then I want to be like, I don't want to be that guy. Is it really going to be that bad? Like, are we about to go through? It's different from you. You're half my age, and Greg Foster's like 8 times older than you. But are we about to go through like that worst moment of our lives? Is this going to be something where like my kids have kids? I'm going to say, oh, remember basically in the 2020s, it was bullshit. I don't know. I hope not.
I mean, I don't fully know what's coming either. I guess, and I would say like, while we have been a little bit maybe gloomy or dark on this episode,
optimism.
I am an optimist at heart.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about Bitcoin, as I think it gives me a way to, or really everybody, a way to kind of secure their future and not be dependent on anyone else, and kind of have that sovereign wealth, that sovereign choice.
Can we all though? Is it a lifeboat for everyone? If everyone fled to Bitcoin at once, would suddenly the price shoot up, and therefore like some people sell off, and then they trap some people? Like I always have to be honest about this, because like a slow increase in adoption of Bitcoin is good for price and good for everyone. But there are people who bought Bitcoin at $69,000. It's now at $39,000. They've halved themselves. They've got to either wait it out. And if they can't wait it out, and if they sell a bit of their Bitcoin, they've lost money.
Yeah.
So I'm fully behind the broad move to a Bitcoin standard. I think everyone should understand Bitcoin and move to it. But if there is a rush to Bitcoin, like every time there's a blow off the top, and then it's like, how long do we take? I mean, we've essentially been flat for a year. So anyone back in, I don't know, when did we go to 69?
A few months ago?
Yeah.
September, was it?
We don't know when they're going to be back in green. And they may be, and be patient, hodl. Yeah, some people cannot afford to hodl.
Yeah, that's a totally fair point. It's, I guess from that sense, it's not like, buy Bitcoin and you're completely insulated from all this stuff. It's just not true. But I think over kind of, and you just said like, the long-term mindset, yada, yada. But I think ultimately Bitcoin offers, over the medium to long term, kind of just a way to insulate yourself from all of this. And so, to have Bitcoin, you need to have a surplus. You need to be able to produce more than you consume. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, like that's just not the reality. But for anyone that is, or whether you're living in a Western country or a dictatorship, even with the volatility, right? Like think about people with the Russian ruble. There's 150 million people that, because of some belligerent dictator, are completely cut off from the rest of the world financially and had their currency collapse by 50%. And so like from that sense, like, Bitcoin is volatile. But what's the kind of weighted DCA price over the last 6 months or a year? I mean, it's not 69,000. It's probably above 38, right? But how many times have you had your net worth dropped in half over the last 5 years, right? Like I've been in Bitcoin, I've seen my net worth draw down 50% 3 or 4 times.
Dude, I've had my net worth go from rich to poor twice in the last decade. I've lost everything, pretty much. Now it's not going to happen a third time because I've protected myself. But I've seen it. I've seen that 50%. But once you've done your first tour of duty, that cutting in 50% usually happens after a 5x or a 10x.
Yeah.
If you haven't had that first tour of duty, and you've had, it's tough. It's really tough, and I'm always conscious that we have to advise people in the right way with this.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like obviously, like for the volatility, it's like, all right, don't ape 100% of your savings, if you have savings at all, into this. If you can't afford to watch it cut in half potentially, or if it doesn't go parabolic next week. But I think when we're talking about these endgame scenarios, I think ultimately with kind of the craziness of the world, I think it could lead, these. I said this earlier today. I was talking with Pomp. I think if you're looking at kind of like this, on Pomp's show.
Who's Pomp? Who's that guy?
He has the second best podcast in Bitcoin.
I don't look down.
But I think these kind of tail distributions of like fiat end games of, right side or left side or whatever, of deflationary, depression, collapse, hyperinflation. I think, unfortunately, this is just kind of my thoughts, but I think those tail distributions aren't as improbable as most would like to believe.
Okay.
And ultimately, it probably ends up with a currency collapse. And I think the U.S., the dollar is the strongest currency, but all the other fiats will collapse. The dollar will probably be the last on the hill, but ultimately it collapses. And so, if you're like, it is, I guess, somewhat irresponsible to say, buy Bitcoin with everything you have, lever up. Like, I mean, I've said it. Like I told, like I'm transparent. Like I was taking student loans money in March 2020 and buying the dip. Like, is that irresponsible? Probably, but I did.
Did it work out?
Yeah, I worked out.
There you go.
I mean, so, but like, don't do that with something you can afford to lose. I was a reckless 18-year-old kid sitting in my dorm room, right? But ultimately, I think this end game is, you're going to want to be insulated at all costs. And if you have any wealth, even in dollars or bonds or even probably equities, I mean, they'll maybe maintain some purchasing power in nominal terms, but in real terms, you probably get crushed.
Well, what's the deal with like your friends? And I don't mean this in any way condescending. I just want to understand like a different age cohort, because my friends' age cohort is 40 to 45. I don't want to say 50, 40 to 45. And we're in a position where we're at the tail end of careers, certainly considering, well, I'd like to retire by 60, 55 would be ideal. Hopefully towards the end of a mortgage. We're at that stage in life where we need to be preparing. And I have conversations about Bitcoin, and they have to consider it alongside things like pensions and paying off their mortgage and stuff. At your stage in life, it's not as you're more like start a career, but thinking about maybe want to get a home. Like, I don't mean it in any kind of condescending way at all, but like, what is the cohort of your friends? Are they naturally understanding of things like Bitcoin? Are they intrigued? Do they come to you and say, I think I need to think about, like, what's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, so I would say, like, I was definitely the annoying Bitcoin guy for a while. So I'm happy to say, like, a lot of people close to me, friends, have been stacking, did stack, have a nice, and like that's their savings account. And I told them that. I was like, dude, this is your, it goes up and down, but this is your turbocharged savings account for your future self. Just acquire some and sit on your hands. So I guess like from that mindset, like a lot of us, I'm in a lucky position to have an income, and not be saddled with debt and in school. But not everyone's in that position. Mostly like kind of like low wage jobs. But yeah, I mean, I still say like, hey, just $10 a week, put it away. This is for your future self. And so I think my kind of bubble is definitely more orange pilled than the average Zoomer. But I think in general, there's kind of a sense, unfortunately, of like kind of a nihilistic approach of just like, I'm going to ape GME calls, or like, I'm going to throw everything YOLO. Like
NFT bullshit.
Yeah, like NFTs, I mean, there's people that made a lot of money with NFTs. Congratulations. Like, honestly, I'm happy for those people. But there's also
Bitcoin.
Yeah, there's also a lot of people that lost everything in scam coins or, JPEGs or, YOLOing in the options market without even understanding what an equity derivative is. And so I think that financial kind of nihilism almost is a result of kind of just being like trapped out of the current system. It's like, the boomers have rode 40 years, the longest asset bubble ever. And we're saddled with 6 figures of debt. Like, what do I have to lose? Right. And so from that sense, I think, Bitcoin offers some hope, but it's important to keep that long picture in mind.
Fair play, man.